Welcome to the Melissa Banks Show. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, and I'm excited to have you here today. This show is all about celebrating the journeys of authors and entrepreneurs, people who are boldly chasing their dreams, creating meaningful products and services, and inspiring others to do the same. Each episode will uncover the stories behind the successes, the lessons learned from the challenges, and the advice that will spark action in your own life. My goal is simple, it's to remind you that your dreams are possible and to leave you feeling inspired and empowered. So let's get started with today's show. Our guest today is Dr. Velma Bagby. She is a best-selling author, podcast host, entrepreneur, certified dating and relationship coach, minister, speaker, and a whole bunch of stuff. I am so thrilled to have my friend and colleague here with me today, Dr. Velma Bagby, who has an incredible story to share with us. Welcome to the show, Dr. Bagby.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I'm excited to have you because I love your journey. I love your energy. And I'm just excited for you to just pour into us today. Let's begin at the beginning, Dr. Velma. Talk to us about your journey. What sparked your walk to being an author, not just an author, but a multi-time best-selling author, and the career that you built. Talk to us about that dream and that journey and how that became reality for you.
It really wasn't my dream because I had worked for state government for 38 years, retired, took my writing and development and training tools, and I wanted to put it in a box that said retired, and that was my plan. But God had other plans. He inspired me to write a book about dating, relationships, and marriage. He said, people are going to want to know, how did you make it to 40 plus years? What is it they need to do? What should they look for? And you should start talking about it. You were blessed and given this gift. Now share it with everybody else. And I'm thinking, well, let me just check it out. I don't know anything about the literary world. So I looked up love and marriage books and blah, blah, blah. I saw 50,000. I'm going, well, what am I going to do in this field of over 50,000 books? And will people even find it? And so it was a journey for me. I had to train myself, learn the literary world, learn the rules and requirements of nonfiction versus fiction. It was a lot to do to discover my voice because I worked for corporate. So I was good at representing their voice and selling their message, but I had to figure out what mine was. And so I spent about 6 years just preparing for that very first book and released it in 2018 at the age of 64. So some people might see that as late, but I had to be obedient to what God was leading me to do. And that's what I did. And from 7 years later, 27 books and 22 bestsellers.
Wow. I want to, you just at the gate said a whole lot, Dr. Velma. And don't want people to miss it because sometimes we have this perfect plan, right? This is the dream. This is it. This is how it's supposed to look. And then God has a whole different
Yep.
story. And I say often, He dreams bigger for me than I can dream for myself
Yep.
because none of the stuff that's happened to me was part of what I thought. And
Right.
that's and another thing you said, you didn't just say, "Okay, God gave it to me and told me to do it." Then you went to work. You went to work to learn to do it. You don't get to just sit in the spot and let God pour and pour and pour and pour. You got to
Yep.
do some work, right?
Yeah.
You did the work to learn it, to get good at it. And now here
Right.
you are 27 books later. And and that was just a few years ago. Another thing
Yeah.
I don't want people to miss is you said you were 65 years old,
64.
64 years old. So your dream is possible. Your dream can happen. You're not
Yep.
too old for it to happen. You hadn't missed it. You just have to make the decision. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Bill. Okay, so Dr. Bill, on our journey, there are certain things that spark us. Certain there's moments along the way in my journey that I can go back and say something happened in that moment that changed the way I thought, the way I saw things, the way I dreamed, the way I feel. It changed something about me. So share with us a moment on your journey that is a defining moment or a turning point for you, something that changed your perspective and who you are.
I think what changed for me is that, as an ordained minister, we had we were trained to focus on expounding upon the word, period. Don't add your opinion, nothing to what the word says, just expound it, explain it, go into details about it. So I leaned towards nonfiction because that's normal. But then there was a part of me that says, well, wait a minute, I want people who are not familiar with scripture, if I'm going to talk about what happened in my experience and and share that with others so that it would help them, I need to be able to reach more people than to talk about according to Genesis 1 and 22. You know, I wanted to do something more. And I did some research, and a friend of mine had posted on her site something about the parables. And she said that Jesus wrote over 50 parables, and these are fictional stories. When I read that word fictional, it hit me then. I'm not to write nonfiction. At that time, I was to move towards fiction, and then I found Christian contemporary fiction as the genre I wanted to use. And because the parables reminded me of, as I read the story from that post, of the fact that Jesus never tried to make people feel bad about anything that they were doing, even if he didn't agree with what they were doing. He simply weaved stories in a way that they could see themselves in it, and then in the story, he included either a way of escape or a way to change. And he never, after he finished the story, told the person, okay, now you need to make a decision, or I'm leaving. He didn't. He just left it at that. And it was that person's choice to take what he showed them in the story to do something with it. And so I gravitated towards that. I felt like that was the shift for me. I had never heard of any of these genres before, but in my research, it helped me to see that this was the place I needed to be in that moment. And as a result, the words that I was getting, and then I used fictional stories just like Jesus did, and I tried to weave them with truth in them so that people could relate to what I was talking about. And the result was, girl, where were you in this book when I dated all those fish in your stories? And that catfish and that sturgeon, I met these guys. And so to get that kind of response, it let me know I did the right thing, because it wasn't for me to just lambaste anybody. It was just to present the truth and weave it in a story that related to people so they can figure it out themselves.
Oh, thank you for that. And the people were lined up to hear it. That's why they responded so quickly. Thank you for that. Okay, so Dr. Velma, on your journey, and I'd like to talk about this part because sometimes people look at us and think everything worked just the way we planned, right? And you and I both know
No.
that is not the case. Life hits too, and we face some challenges. So share with us a challenge that for you that you've had to figure it out. You had to work through it, overcome it, and continue to keep moving.
Well, that actually happened this past year. I had two family members to pass away. One was my brother-in-law, and the other one was my sister. Now that one hurt. That hit me hard. But because I had not experienced that level of grief before, I didn't know that that's what was happening to me. And I had a deadline based on my conversation with my publicist to get this book out that I needed to finish. And I just couldn't. I didn't have the desire. It didn't feel good anymore. The joy I get with creating, I didn't have that. It was almost as if I couldn't find it. And it was a friend of mine that helped me. I reached out to her and said, can you help me with this book? I really need to get it out. And I just can't get it. And she, like a teacher, you know how you have to work on a project, a written writing project, and you give it to the teacher and she send you back a list of all the things you need to fix. That's what
Mhm.
she did to me. I said, wait a minute, that's not you. You need to do this, blah, 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 whole list. Second time, I send back the changes. She sent it back with a long list of things. And I'm going, what in the world is going on? I don't feel like doing all of this. So I went on and responded to all of the things she asked me to. Third time, another, you're almost there, but you need to get this right, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, man, do I have to do this? By the third time, I felt like it was starting to come back. And it was only then that I realized I was grieving, and I had not paid any attention to it. I just thought I was just tired of writing, didn't want to do it. And that's what pushed me to move past what I was experiencing. and keep moving forward. And I found that joy back again in writing, but it was tough.
And thank goodness that you found it back. Thank goodness that you already had someone there in your life that you could reach out to, and that's what we need during those challenges. And
Yes,
not that the challenges stop us, because she was there to make sure you didn't let it stop you, even though you didn't know what was going on. So thank
right.
you for sharing that with us. I'm going to
Hmm.
reset here. You're watching the Melissa Banks Show, and our guest today is Dr. Velma Bagby. Dr. Bagby is a best-selling author, a podcast host, certified dating and relationship coach, entrepreneur, minister, and speaker. We're talking about her amazing journey. So, Dr. Velma, let's get to the work. Let's talk. Your work is so impelling, so impactful. Your books don't are even though you said you just share with us how you weave fiction and truth, but it weaves together. It's like a dance, and it weaves together so well. So each of your books that you have, we teaches us something and make us look at ourselves mainly and want to make the changes. So talk to us about how you hope your books will impact the lives of others.
I really hope that, as I moved through the Catch series, which is a 5 book series, and began to open up the doors to other topics that I needed to address. My own personal life is in Hold Your Head Up, Princess. I talk about the difficulties in middle school, high school, and even my first job when I first started in state government, how I was one of 3 secretaries that was hired right out of high school, and the other 2 didn't like me. And so they talked to my supervisor and had her put something negative in my first probationary report. And what I learned was going from middle school when they told me, classified me as poor, I learned to challenge what a person's view was of me and decided it's better for me to demonstrate to you who I really am than to fight and get angry. And so that was my beginning. And then so by the time I got that job after high school, same thing was happening. So even though I was disappointed and hurt by that, that my supervisor took what they said and wrote it in my probationary report as the fact that I walked through the office like I was haughty and proud. And all I was doing was doing what my mother told me to do. I catch myself even now not holding my head up like this. She said, hold your head up unless you have something to be ashamed of. So I'm walking through the office like this. And they said I was walking like I was haughty. I guess this black woman it didn't work to walk in the office looking like that. And so I set out to change their opinion of me. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to make sure I know every equipment in this building. I'm going to know how to fix it, how to repair it, how to manage it, all of that. And all of a sudden, my name became the name around the office to call. Talk to Velma. She knows how to do it. So I always sought to do that in my life. And I felt that it was time for me to start spreading the word about my personal life, just sharing some of the things that I went through that could likely help somebody else. And that's what I began to do. So I moved away from the Catch series and started getting a little personal in some of the stories I told.
Wow, that's all amazing. And it's impacting so many lives in so many ways. So
Mhm.
talk to us, Dr. Velma. Sometimes I want you to just share with our audience and what advice you have, because sometimes the journey, the hardest part of the journey is starting. You
Yep.
have the ideas, you're thinking about it even when you're asleep, you're talking to everybody who will listen, but you still hadn't done anything to get started. So what advice would you give to someone who's listening to your amazing journey? It wasn't all easy. Everything that wasn't a yes, but talk to them about how to just take that first step and get started.
Well, God is counting on you. And obviously, like my teacher told me, there's an audience waiting for your voice. So that 50,000 books that was already on the shelf, that wasn't my voice, that was somebody else's. But there was an audience waiting for me to tell them what I needed to share. And so you have to recognize the fact that if it's on your heart to write, there's an audience waiting for you. So therein lies your obligation to get it done. And it is your job that God is not going to hand you everything. Sometimes you have to get out there and research like I did. God didn't hand me the how to book, and He did not make a list for me as to how I need to approach it. He's waiting to see how I'm going to apply what he's instructed me to do. And my guiding principle has always been Proverbs 3 and 6. And all thy ways acknowledge him. That word acknowledge in the original language means to invite in. God will come to your rescue and your aid and your help if you invite him. He's not a bully. He's not going to just insert himself. You have to invite him in. And so, therefore, I began to pray, God, show me how to do this. God, connect me with the right people. God, help me, lead me to the path I should take. And I began to get out there and do it. And that's what you have to do. I remember running into one author I wanted to ask questions of, and they were pretty successful. And they told me to go into their website and sign up for one of their sessions so that their discovery call basically, and it was a little fee, and I'm going, God, please don't let me ever be like that. I don't want to be 1-800 pay me first before I help you. Help me to just be available to whoever I need to as they begin to start their journey. Help me to help them any way that I can, but I never want to be that like that. So just know, use ask God on every step of the way. Show me the door, show me the way, and I'll go walk right in. That's it.
He said, do your part and he will do the rest. Thank you for that, Dr.
Absolutely.
Bill. So, Dr. Bellma, we talk about this a lot. You know, there are challenges. There's stuff that has us down that we have to push through, but there's also a lot of amazing things that happen along that journey. And sometimes the amazing things is what keeps you from being able to sleep at night, or sometimes it's very hard to stay focused. Talk to us about what your process is, how you stay motivated and focused on your goals.
There are two things, and that was, like I said in the beginning, God had blessed me, my husband and I, to have. We were like 40, a little over 40 years together at that stage. And I've watched people walk away from their marriages too soon. Sometimes difficulties will come, and you have to expect those, but you have to understand how to manage those and how to overcome them together. You're not fighting by yourself. There should be a third person in the house, and it should be God, the threefold cord. And so I wanted to make sure that I expressed that in what I was talking about. But another thing that encouraged me was I purposely included in my last book a difficult relationship, an unhealthy one, and that was the puffer fish. The puffer fish was the fish that, when agitated or angry, puffs up 3 times its size and has poisonous points coming out of his body. So I purposely put that story in there about a woman who married a guy who represented the puffer fish. And when I went into my um, appointment one day, the receptionist had my book and she said, "Oh, I really love your book, but I really hope my friend would read it because of the fact that she's going through a difficult time and this person she's with, she shouldn't be with." I said, "Sometimes it doesn't take someone telling her to do that. She has to discover it for herself." I said, "Give her the book. Give her one for herself." And I gave her an extra one. I said, "And ask her to read that last story and let her discover it herself." She gave her the book and she read that last story. And the next time I talked to my friend to see at the receptionist counter to see what happened, she said all of the friends tried to talk her out of that relationship. She wouldn't listen. She said, "But you know, when she read that story, she let that guy go." And so, if I can do that, if I can encourage a couple that's going through difficulties to hold on to what they have and fight through it, if I can encourage someone who's in a poor relationship, a bad relationship, and not move any further and get out of it, then I feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do. And so that's what I hope to continue to do.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you so much for just giving so much of yourself. I've definitely enjoyed this conversation.
Mhm.
Tell us, Dr. Velma, what's coming up? What can we look for from you? Share with us what we can get excited about, what we can support, and let us know how to stay connected with you.
Well, right now, every Saturday, I'm presenting an episode on Dr. Velma Talks podcast about my latest book. It's following Esther's process to purification, restoration, and purpose. And it's 30-day journal, devotional journal. And I'm going through each day every Saturday. So last Saturday was the first day. This Saturday we'll be doing talking about day 2. So it really is about your relationship with God. It was never about her marrying a king. because no man cares about what you let go of, what you're holding on to, any of that stuff. If what the symbolism of the story is what's important, it's a symbol of what we do to grow closer to God. And so that's what I'm covering every Saturday. So it's on my YouTube page. So if you want to YouTube channel, Dr. Velma Bagby, make sure you subscribe and tune in on Saturdays or catch the replay so you can hear what I'm talking about concerning that book. And then, and then I just had this beautiful professional complete a book cover for me that is outstanding. And it will represent my husband and I, our 52nd wedding anniversary. So the book that I'm releasing next month is called My 70s Love Story 50 Years Later. And this person that's on this show right now is the fabulous person that created the cover for me. And I'm so excited. It's fabulous. It looks so beautiful and elegant. I'm excited to share, but not yet. But that's what's coming up.
Well, thank you for that. I'm so excited. Congratulations on your show, new season, and of course your new book. I cannot wait, and I'm so honored to have been a part of creating that cover for you.
Yes.
Just an amazing person and journey, and thank you for sharing so much of yourself. And we're looking forward to everything. Make sure you guys connect with her on YouTube. Thank you for sharing your journey with us today and just pouring into us. I know that so many people are inspired to believe that their dream is still possible. So thank you
Absolutely.
again. And
You're
thank
so
you to
welcome.
our audience for joining us for this episode of the Melissa Banks Show. I hope today's conversation with Dr. Velma Bagby reminded you that your dreams are within reach, no matter where you're starting. So until next time, I'm your host, Melissa Banks. Remember, your journey is unique, your dreams are valid, and you have the power to design the life you love. So keep believing, keep growing, and
Okay.
keep shining.